All right, we are live.
All right, we're live, and I'm going to declare the meeting of the Thomaston-Upson Planning Commission open and call to order. I'll call the roll. Mr. Hilton?
Here.
Ms. McCoy?
Yeah.
Ms. McKinley?
Here.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes, sir.
And myself. So we have one absent tonight, Ms. Fallon. So we got 5 of us, 5 of the 6. Okay, we have a little snafu, and we're going to ask him to amend the agenda to add public comments, if that be the pleasure of the commission. Do I hear?
We need to approve that, the minutes of the month of May 1st.
Oh, excuse me, yes. Let's approve the minutes. We were all, sent a copy of the minutes of the May 12th meeting, 2021. Do I hear a motion?
I move that the minutes be approved.
I second.
All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
All right. Next, the agenda doesn't have a place for public comment, so in discussion, we decided we would take a vote to see if the commission, Thomaston-Upson Planning Commission, would like to have public comments tonight. I think some people came with that purpose, so it's at the pleasure of the commission as to whether or not to have public comments, because public comments, as will be explained later, will come at the zoning hearing and the commission hearing and all this. We're just an advisory group,
Correct.
the
So
way I
this
understand
is
it.
the joint planning commission meeting. If this is approved, then it will go to the Thomaston zoning commission meeting, and then we'll also go to the city council. And at the city council meeting, there will be a public hearing.
So what's the pleasure of the planning commission in allowing public comments tonight?
My motion is to hear comments.
Have a motion
I second it.
and a second. All in favor, right hand.
Aye.
All right, so we will have public comments, but there'll be some restrictions. They'll be limited to 2 minutes. There'll be no repeats. If you want to say the same thing the other guy said, or girl said, you just come up and say ditto, and you've said it. You'll come up to this point up here. Dave has asked you to come up because he wants to get you on camera, and you'll come by Ms. Nichols over here and sign the sign-in sheet as making public comment. Is that pleasing with everybody? Okay, so the commission voted to have public comments, so we will ask now for public comments. And let me back up one thing. On the agenda tonight is a rezoning request for the City of Refuge property located on North Goodrich Avenue. That's on the agenda, and that's what the commission will be making a recommendation of.
Correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, this was the same thing we did back in March 2021. So this is just a repeat.
This was done.
Has anything changed?
Are we still open for public comment?
No, not yet. I mean, you'll be next in line.
I believe the meeting was January when this was first brought before you guys.
Okay. I thought it was the meeting prior to the Robert Fallon meeting, which would have been March 18th. Does that sound right?
Prior to
It was prior
Yeah,
to
it's
that,
prior
I'm just not
Robert's
sure
meeting.
if it was, which one it was.
Well, at Robert's meeting, we approved the minutes of the March 18th
Right.
meeting. That's what I thought it was.
No, yes, you're correct. I'm sorry, you are correct.
So anyway, basically it's the same application. It appears to me to be the same. The other commission.
They submitted a scope of work and a site plan application.
Okay. So we'll open it now first for public comments. Anyone addressing, desiring to make public comment, and please limit yourself to 2 minutes.
My name's Gary Seff. I live at 226 Roberts Loop in the county. And basically what I've got to say is I'm opposed to this zoning change.
Thank you, sir. Next. And you're signing in just to have a record of who spoke.
Correct.
My name is,
I think, where's Dave?
there's an X right here.
Is that, you want her over here or over here?
It doesn't matter. There's an X on the floor on both sides, and both can be caught on camera.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Terry Hoyle. I live at 300 Sunset Hill. I'm right behind the church, the first house. My neighborhood is opposed to this. First of all, it's rezoning it to another residential property, which there's a lot more going on than a residence. There's so many activities that they're wanting to put on there that we don't think needs to be back behind us. First of all, we're concerned that it would be built on top of a trash dump that has been there for years from Martha Mills. If you're gonna do this, we need soil samples and core samples from this. It's gonna put, our value of our houses are gonna go down from that. I don't wanna live in front of that. They're talking about gravel parking lots. That's gonna put dirt and dust in our houses. They're talking about a firing range, which I understand it's for pellets and BBs and stuff like that. I don't want the children here in Upson County learn how to shoot from church. Zip lines and horses, I can understand that they could put up to 2 horses per acre or per 2 acres. Well, they're telling us they're gonna put 12. During the summer, the smell on that end of the property would not be good. We didn't move to the county. I moved to the city to get, I just don't want to live in the county. But and this is not just for Upson County. This is they're wanting to bring in 5 counties of people for these activities. If they get what all they're wanting, then how much more are they gonna push in?
Next.
First of all, I'd like for someone to explain to me, and this should take my 2 minutes, what the F, or this R, which one are they trying to do, the R2?
No, they're R2 now, and they want to move it to R3.
Okay, can someone explain to me what multifamily residential mean in zoning? That's what we need to know, I think, more than anything. What's going behind our house? What does that mean exactly?
You want me to read it off?
Sure, you can.
I have a copy. And it says, I don't know if we have y'all copies or not. R3 multifamily residential district. Within an R3 multifamily residential district, the following uses are permitted. All those uses permitted in R2. We know that. Okay. Hospitals and clinics for the treatment of human ailments, provided that they are located on a major street. The buildings are placed not less than 50 feet from any property line. There is a planted buffer strip not less than 5 feet wide along the side and rear of the property. Nursing homes. Number 4, principal use buildings, regardless of the number of dwelling units contained therein, shall not be required to front upon a public street. Number 5, no use not specifically allowed herein for property in the R3 multifamily residential district shall be made of such property, and any use not thus specifically allowed shall be and hereby is specifically prohibited. Did any of that make any sense?
No. You can stop for 2 minutes, but
Yeah.
what that tells me is they can build a multi-family residential area as big as they want back there and bring in any type of people they want to live in that multi-residential area. We're talking about a town that's already stretched to its limits. I live directly behind this facility they have now. Our sewage system is already taxed to the limit. I've had nothing but sewer problems for 16, going on 18 years now at that house. It's, how can you handle this? They build something like this, they'll bring them in, you build it, they will come. I'm in the medical field for 30 years now, and I know for a fact, if you build something like this, which I know they're gonna do back there, I wanna help you as much as any land. Surrounding counties will bring people here and dump them off on our county. I've seen it happen, I've worked at ERs for 30 years. I've seen sheriff's departments pick up people who have nowhere to go and take them to a bigger city that does have the resources. We don't have those resources here. They build something to help the needy that needs immediate help. What happens after they get the immediate help they need? They get turned off into our community? This is not a good idea. I've invested a lot of money in my house. I spent $50,000 remodeling this house. That's how much I love where I live in this town. I want to retire on that hill. This is scary to me. I've seen it happen before, and it will happen to our town. They'll get turned out and they'll be on our streets.
Thank you.
Thank you for
If
your
you
time.
would sign it.
Thank you.
I guess a copy of this R3 rule can be picked up at the clerk's office anytime.
Yes, and it's also online, so you can go to our city website and pull up Unicode, and you can just type in R3 and find all the code requirements. There's even a chart with, you know, minimum lot setback, stuff like that.
All right. Anyone else with a public comment?
Cooter Waller, I live at 273 R Street, been over there 42 years. This residential area is one of the finest ones in the community. Everybody takes pride in it. And I just don't see why the land out there is conducive for multi-house residential. And what they gonna do with the recreation fields and everything else is gonna bring in more and more. And it's just not, you know, I'd love to see it here, and I commend the people for wanting to help the children. But that's not the place for it. Why not go to the rec center and build something out there? They got land available out there. Building in a recreational area, and especially the multi-housing, you know, y'all know what's gonna end up. We all do. And in closing, I would like to know, wasn't this denied at that last meeting? Why are we having another meeting?
I don't know that it was denied, it
So-
was just not recommended to,
And it
Pass
was,
something.
they withdrew their application, so now
Okay.
they're reapplying.
But, you know, I've not seen an environmental study. I've not seen a street impact study of any kind. No plans or anything. This map is available here. I hadn't, you know, what do we know it's gonna do? I don't see how you can approve anything without a dedicated set of plans and feasibility study and an environment. It's got to have an environmental impact.
thank you. Anyone else?
Could I respond to something? Please, sir. You mentioned the vote last time. The recommendation to deny was mine. I have a second of Mr. Hilton. Those voting was Ms. Fallon who said no. Ms. McCoy said yes. McKinley said yes. Hilton said yes. And Pitt said yes. And Broadnax said yes. That is a yes vote in my opinion.
That's what I
To deny.
Any other comments?
Well, I'm not sure what I'm gonna be allowed.
In just a minute.
Okay.
This is public comment, then I'm gonna read off the rezoning request, and then if the commission we'll ask you to make any comments, or the commission can ask you questions,
Thank you.
if that is fine. Any other, what I call public comments? Hearing none, we'll close public comments. Okay, public comments are closed. Next on the agenda is the rezoning request for City of Refuge property located on North Goodrich Avenue. It's requesting to be moved from R2 to R3. And the applicant is City of Refuge Incorporated, And Mr. Jeff Deal is the spokesman for that, or the speaker of that. Now, the commission, would y'all like to ask him any questions, or would you like to hear a short comments from him, or what's your pleasure?
You can comment and then I'll probably have a question or two.
Okay.
I have a comment.
Do we want to limit him to 2 minutes or give him 5 minutes?
What is the usual?
Whatever we decide.
I guess 5 minutes maybe?
Does that meet the pleasure of the commission? Is that all right with you?
Sure. If I can't get 25, I'll take 5.
Hearing no objection, we'll allow.
Essentially, we're gonna hear the same thing today that we heard in the last meeting.
Well, my first comment is that's not true.
It's gonna be exactly the same
No,
thing.
that's not true. So I think we should start off with what's true and what's not.
Let's let him make a 5-minute presentation, then the commission can
Okay.
ask any questions they want. And we're just trying to limit it, not be here till midnight.
Sure, I understand. So we did apply before. We got some good feedback, good information, grateful for that. We walked out of that knowing some things we needed to do, some legwork we needed to get done. We got busy on that, and that's what we've done. We withdrew the application until we could get our ducks better in a row. And so, like I said, we've been working on it. Now, let me preface things by saying that we wanted to familiarize the community with who we are and what we do. So we did a few things. One is that we put signs up in the community big enough to read from the street that said, if you have questions about City of Refuge, please contact Jeff. I want them to come straight to me, and gave the email address. To date, and that's been almost 6 months ago since we put signs up, we've had one email inquiry, and that was not a question about our plans, but it was to ask if I could help pay somebody's rent. So I would say that these signs are placed along our street, up in the community, especially visible to the people who live on properties that border the land. Folks have had ample opportunity to reach out, to ask questions, to try to find out the facts. Rather than that, a lot of people have focused on innuendo and rumor and have drawn some conclusions that are actually not based on fact. The second thing we did is we held a community informational luncheon 2 weeks ago. We invited people from the community. I know not everybody got an invitation, but we did get some invitations out there. We tried to get the word spread. We invited city leaders, business people. We had about 75 people in attendance. And we gave a PowerPoint presentation, which has also been submitted to this committee. We explained everything we're going to do. We listed step by step who we are, what we do, what our plans are. We put the plans, which I brought, but I'm not, I think, allowed to bring them up, for the property. It is light years away from what some people are saying and concluding. We do plan to put in recreational facilities, which will involve, of course, some accesses, and in terms of infrastructure like sewage and all that. 2 houses and a barn are not going to tax the sewage system or the water system very much at all. In terms of feasibility studies and in terms of environmental issues, we brought out a civil engineer, and he has not done a formal study, because his advice to us was, there's nothing to worry about here. I've looked at the property, I've looked at your plans, and I don't see the need to spend the money to do this right now. Let's wait and see if you get the approval, and then we can move on to those very important steps. So a recreation field, you know, a director's home, a caretaker cottage, a barn with 12 stables, to the issue of horses. By law, if it's approved, we can put 1 horse for every 2 acres. There's no way it's ever going to get to that. Now, I know a lot of this is, how can you prove it? How do we know what's going to happen in the future? Yeah, I really don't know how to answer those things. You know, we're a ministry. We've been doing good works in Thomaston for 8 years. We've proven ourselves. We have a track record. We do not, under any circumstances, bring homeless people in here from anywhere and do anything with them, nor do we run a homeless shelter. We do not run an addiction recovery program. We help people with addictions to get placed in programs that are partners of ours around Georgia and out of state. None of those are local. We do not run an anti-trafficking program on our campus.
Anybody who comes to us in trouble, who wants help, we're gonna do what we can to help them, but it does not include housing those folks in the community, and it is never going to include us having folks come in from the outside to occupy space where we are. That's just not true. So we're already doing stuff. The property is adjacent to our church property. It's a perfect fit. And I would just finish up my comments by saying that we own the property, and something's going to happen with the property, because now it's been discovered. It's a great piece of land. It has huge potential. We've been approached by 2 people already who have the means to do it, that want to buy the property. And I can tell you for a fact that what we're going to do on that property, if this zoning change is approved, is way better than the other things that might be coming down the pike. Even if it's never changed to R3, what can be done on an R2 zoning, there's some things involved with that you'd much rather see what we're going to do than what other people have in mind to do if they get a hold of it. But if we can't get through and approved to do what we believe would be a great community asset, all it does is provide a positive environment, positive facilities, positive influence, mentoring for kids, benefits to veterans. If we can't get that done, we're not going to hold on to a 90-acre tract of land and let it sit there and grow up like it has been. We're going to unload it, and whoever gets it can do what they want to do with it. So we have a good plan for it, and I would hope that reasonable people can hear that. And, you know, there are parts of anything that anybody does. I live in the country, and if somebody came right up next to me and built something, I probably wouldn't like parts of it. I understand that. I respect that fully. But if you look at the plans that we have, you got nice buffers all the way around. We're going to be very respectful of the people that are close to us there, and we're going to no high bright lights. We're going to do what we can to minimize any sort of invasive situation toward the neighbors, of course. But we present it as a community asset, something positive to offset a lot of the negativity going on. To the statement about serving 5 counties, that's a little bit misconstrued, because what we did was we did a 5-county study. And in our lunch meeting, we presented that, and we said, here is an example, here is a template for what we're talking about in this region. And we listed 5 counties. We never said anything about hauling people in here from 5 counties or otherwise to do a lot of stuff. If we bring anybody in from anywhere outside, it's going to be a reasonable sized group that the property and the facilities can accommodate. Of course, it's not going to be like thousands of folks drifting in here from everywhere just to hang out. These will be planned events on a calendar, certain number of weeks set aside per year where churches in this community, civic groups, sports teams can come and utilize the facility. We're all about doing good. We're all about presenting ourselves as a vehicle to bless and to help people.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. As a matter of fact, I have 2 questions. You just mentioned that you might sell this property. If you sell this property, will it go back on the tax digest?
I guess that depends on who buys it.
Well, it also depends on who has it now. It's not on the tax digest, so, you know, mayhaps if the folks who buy it will use it for another use, then it will go back on the tax digest. If you remember the last meeting that we were in, I asked very specifically of you a detailed drawing to include everything that I mentioned, and you have not responded to that at all. I have exactly the same plan that I had. It's a picture. It's not a plan. It's a picture. It's a picture. It's not a plan. A plan will give me detailed drawings of what's going to be placed on that, and what you put on that drawing will be what you'll be limited to. You're asking the county and the city of Upson to give you a carte blanche to do what you want to do on that piece of property. That's what you're asking for.
I respectfully disagree. We're not asking for a carte blanche on that. But obviously, if you decide to build an additional facility to what was approved in advance, you have to get an approval to build that from building and zoning.
You're in an R3 zone. You don't have to do anything but buy a permit. That's all you have to do.
Well, drawing of the barn. Okay,
Put that barn on place, on the script that you've given me. Show
This is
me
a drawing
dimensions
of
of that
the,
barn and show me
arena.
what the setbacks are of that barn. You've not done that. You've
Well-
not done that.
you know, in my experience, and we own about 19 properties, the City of Refuge does,
All nonprofit.
all nonprofit. One here, okay? In my experience, when you go before a planning commission whose power is to make a recommendation, not to vote you yea or nay, it's a little bit unwise to go and, like I said, do the environmental study and spend thousands of dollars. Go and do a detailed plan and spend thousands of dollars, okay? Before you even know if you're recommended to the next level. We're trying to get a recommendation. If we can get a recommendation, then we go to the next step. We do the next thing that's on the list. This is what we have had done. We've had drawings done of facilities that will be on the property. Okay? So, we're following the steps we've been advised to follow by the city attorney, by our own lawyer, and according to the feedback we've gotten in the community, like I said, until this minute, we've gotten about 2 negative comments or bits of information from the community behind us. And I believe we have given ample opportunity for people to speak out. We're right there, we put up signs, we held a meeting, and then folks walk in here uninformed, having drawn conclusions that are inaccurate.
Does that conclude your question?
Yes, thank you.
Have you gone to all the residents that border, at least at a minimum border? Have you gone to each one of them and asked for their feedback?
No.
Is there a reason why you haven't?
No, I mean, I think that if you publicize through signs that people have the opportunity to ask questions, that's the way to do it, rather than walking the streets knocking on everybody's door. I mean, to me, that encompasses what you need to do. You're giving everybody who lives in the community a chance to ask a question or to offer their opinion.
Alicia, any more questions? Jeff? Ms. McCoy?
I see you have 2 horse pastures here. How far, I was responding to the young lady, the lady right here, with the glasses, like the horses and the sales, how far would they be for the residential lot? You have 2 here, 1 here, and 1 for all here. Why is that so close to the residential?
Well, it's not close. I mean, if you go out there, this is a huge piece of property. So, and I'm guessing, but I'm saying from the property line to the start of the first pasture, you're probably talking about 150 yards.
I missed.
And you have a buffer of trees.
When the horses, someone be, they grazing there, would there be any kind of enclosure here, or just the trees and stuff, no open from the horses going?
No, the property, the pastures will be fenced and cross-fenced.
The next question is, I know you have people in, what about the, how many bathroom facilities instead of you have on this property?
Well, we have plans for a house and a cottage, which will have a couple bathrooms each. And then in the barn facility, you will have a bathroom facility.
Okay, for the public, when they're out here and doing the sports, so would there be ample facilities for them as well?
Well, where that part of what we're gonna do is, it is a 3-minute walk to the church building. And this is one of the great benefits of this location and these properties being connected, is that we can utilize the church facility we already have for a lot of those kinds of things. And so it gives us the chance to not have to do so much over there because of already having an awesome 6-acre property with great buildings on it.
Okay, I'm not a horse person, per se, but how are you gonna handle the waste, when you clean the stables and barns? How are you gonna how are you going to dispose of the waste from the horse?
Well, I am a horse person, and the way it's planned to do is to have a pit. Of course, we will have the tractors, the equipment, and so you dig a pit and you dump and you cover and you dump and you cover. And that is the way most people who are farmers would do it. So initially, at least, with the small number of animals we're going to have there, that would be our plan.
Ms. McCoy, does that conclude your questions?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
Okay. I have a question. Okay. You're requesting to be moved from R2 to R3.
Yes, sir.
My copy of R3, there's 5 things. One just says everything permitted in R2. The other one says nothing that's not permitted. So really, there's only 3 things in R3. Hospital and clinics. And there are restrictions and rules, 3A, B, C on those. So without this zoning change, you cannot build a hospital or a clinic. You cannot build a nursing home. So without the zoning change, you're prevented from a hospital, clinic, and nursing home. And you're prevented from, I guess, principal use buildings or housing, regardless of the number of dwelling units contained. It's just an open-end permit to build whatever, however, kind of whatever housing that would not be required on a public street.
Right.
So those are the only 3 things you're prevented from doing right now. You can build a horse barn, you can put horses in there, you can do everything you can do except build a hospital, clinic, a nursing home, and multifamily, unlimited public housing, not on a public street. So that's the only thing you're limited from doing.
Right.
Okay.
And if I could sort of speak to that, I guess some people would question then why apply for a zoning change if you don't plan to do either one of those 3 things, which we don't.
Right.
And that is that under the advice of the city attorney, we were told that it's not because of the facilities that are planned, it's because of the programming. And she said that if you have a therapeutic nature, it doesn't even have to be officially defined as therapy, but if it has a therapeutic nature, such as, so we do work with veterans. Right now, what that looks like is retreats that are in other locations, Florida, North Carolina, places like that. We want to do those here because we love to work with veterans. We love to provide things for them that are beneficial. But if you have an equestrian operation and you use horses with veterans in sort of a therapeutic way, she says that the zoning change would be necessary in order to do that kind of programming. And I'm just sharing with you what she has said. Because I had a lot of questions about that. I'm like, well, if we're R2 and we can do everything we want to do R2, what's the problem? She said the problem is that some of the programming you want to do is going to be therapeutic in nature, and you need to be in an R3 zone to be able to do that.
Thank you. All right, no other question, Mr.
I
D?
have one more.
Okay.
Your shooting range, is this going to be outdoors or indoors? What is that?
Outdoors,
I don't see it on
and the land, the way the land is it flattens out up toward the R Street community. And then it slopes off down toward like Home Depot. And so those kinds of things, zip line, climbing wall, shooting range, will be down in a bottom section, okay? So it's no threat to anybody. These are facilities, if you've ever been to a campground, places that are designed for kids, you know how they're built, you know that all the safety measures are there. And we're only talking about BBs and pellets and archery, okay? And you're down under in a spot where, you know, you're surrounded by a good, safe environment. As far as to my friend's comment here about kids learning how to shoot, I think in this region of America, you'd probably be overruled on people wanting, you know, kids to learn how to do outdoor sports like that. And it's very common in a lot of places.
Thank you. All right, before I call the question, does any city code enforcement or a building official have any questions or comments of the commission or Mr. Deal that need to be routed through us?
No.
Ms. Nichols? Okay, are we ready for the question? Are we ready to call the question? Okay. All right. On the rezoning request for the City of Refuge property located on North Goodrich Avenue to change the zoning, or to recommend the zoning be changed from R2 to R3, what's the pleasure of the Planning Commission?
We'll need the motion second and then make a vote.
Right. So I need a motion and a second, and a vote to grant the request for us to recommend it or to not recommend it.
Correct.
We're not granting the change, we're just
It's a
recommending it to the
recommendation.
next
Correct.
entity. So what's the pleasure of our recommendation?
So you can motion and second to approve, and
My
then we'll make a
motion,
vote.
my motion is the same it was last time. My motion is to deny R3 zone for this piece of property.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second. All in favor signify by raising the right hand.
Mr. Hilton, you motion to deny also?
I
He
second.
seconded it.
Okay.
So it appears 4
4-1.
to deny.
Ms. McCoy, did you vote?
No.
Are you abstaining or are you voting no?
I'm voting to, at this time, since the residents are against that, to deny it.
You voting to deny it?
Yes.
So does that make it unanimous?
So everybody votes to deny? Okay.
All right, next on the agenda is other business. Any commission member got any other business?
I don't.
No, none.
I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion in 2 seconds.
Right.
And
We'll
unanimous.
go with McKinley.
Pick one.
Is it okay if I look at that?
Okay?
Generally,
How are you?
I was just
Doing good.
People who oppose, you'll find it.